clustered together are actually negative. So once that neural pathway is created, and it's like if you imagine a chain, and every time I come in I think of my props. If you imagine a chains with the thought at one end and the emotion at the other and the neural pathway that kind of connects them together in the middle. If you imagine a chain, once this chain is in place, this neural pathway, you don't have to think about it. And this is the process of what happens when our thoughts go awry. Because when it's something about, a door, or you're learning a color, or how big something is, or how small something is, all those things that those of you with little kids, it's probably still fresh in your mind, or if you've had kids and you remember kind of being there as they're growing up, those are probably still fresh in your mind. Those are all the things that kids have to learn. But when they learn a negative association, that also goes in and creates a neural pathway, and that goes into your subconscious. And once it's in your subconscious, it's automatic. So then I began measuring what's in your subconscious, and what I found is that 96.4% of all your thoughts, or all but about 1%, are hidden in your subconscious. So you've got all this negative stuff, all these negative associations that came in at an early age, and it's almost all hidden to you. And this is one of the reasons why you'll watch somebody else and you'll see them doing something and you'll say, well, you do blah blah blah, or you say, whatever, and they'll say, no, I don't. And those of you who are married who have fights like this, you might want to just kind of file a mental note that if your spouse or your loved one or whatever is telling you that you do XYZ, maybe you really are doing it. Because what I found is that most people are completely unconscious as to most of the automatic habits and thinking that they have. And what I've actually done by measuring it is prove that that's the case. So I've actually worked with clients where I'll say, well, you just said blah 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 to me, and they'll say, no, I didn't, and I'll say, yes, you did. And it's so interesting because if I recorded it for them, they would hear it and they would play it back. And that's one of the things that I'll tell people is, if you want to know what you're saying or what you're doing, talk out loud for like an hour and just record yourself, and you're going to be shocked. If you're actually paying attention, you're going to start being shocked, because most of us will just throw these things off our cuff and we don't even recognize that we're doing it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I call negativity the lies that we tell ourselves that we don't even know we're telling ourselves, and we don't even know we're lies. Because what happens is, a lot of times the negative idea is right in front of us, and we are so accustomed to hearing it that we don't even recognize it for what it is. So we just think, oh, that's normal, or we believe it, or what have you. And because of that, it's like it gets a hold on us. So even if it comes to our conscious awareness, we don't think anything of it. So I'll give you an example that's a common one, which is the idea that you have to work hard to make money. And some people will say, well, of course you have to work hard to make money, or what's wrong with that, or whatever. And what I say is, what's wrong with that is that a lot of people are working really, really hard, and they're not spending time with their family, and they're not making as much money as they could make because they believe that they have to work hard to make money. So you just have to always look at the result of that thing that you're putting out and say, okay, is this what I really want? If I think of this as a literal order that's going into the universe, which is technically what it is this what I really want to create, or would I prefer something different? What do I really prefer? And to be in the place to know that we can actually sit and choose what we would like to prefer and what we can put out there, and then end up with a different choice. Now, here's part of the problem of what happens. This negativity that I'm talking about, this negative conditioning, because it's hidden in your subconscious, it's also physically stored in your body. So the way that it works is, once a neural pathway is there, it's in your brain, the emotion is physically stored in your body, the negative thought is physically stored in your brain. And we have other associations, like you might have a smell, or hearing, or touch, or whatever. This is why, we associate, chocolate chip cookies, or maybe with grandma's house, or certain songs with certain people. Those are all just associations. That's what they are. They're just learning. And that all gets automatically linked. Well, once it's physically in your body, you have to actually overwrite that neural pathway in order to take it out. That's a physical process. So the negativity, the negative conditioning, has to be purged from your body and taken out. So it's not good enough for you to just notice that it's there. You've got to get rid of it in order to create something new. And that usually takes, according to NASA research, about 26 days. And this is one of the reasons why a lot of programs will tell you to repeat something for 30 days, because they've found that it takes about 26 days. Now, the truth is, it really depends upon the issue, because some issues are stored kind of like the Grand Canyon, they're really deep, and other issues are stored like this little narrow trickle, and they're more like a, like a little kind of a stream, okay? So it really depends upon the issue, but what happens is the earlier it comes in, typically the more negative thoughts get accumulated with it along the way, and then the more it's like the Grand Canyon. So what happens is once a thought is in your subconscious, it works to effortlessly create more of that for you. So let's say, for example, you get the idea that you're not attractive, okay? You have the idea that you're not attractive because maybe somebody says, oh, what an ugly baby, or whatever. Let's say that you notice this about 1-year-old, and hopefully nobody would ever say that, but just using this as an example. So you get this idea that you're not attractive, you're about 1-year-old. So that idea is already in your subconscious. Now what happens is you'll actually begin, even at 1-year-old, attracting more situations like that because your subconscious already has this idea that you're not attractive. And this is amazing because I've actually seen children as young as 2.5 creating with their own thoughts and their own negative patterns that are already in their mind. And I remember one situation, and I'll never forget it, because I was thinking, gosh, I wonder when kids start creating for their own, because how it works is, as parents, we kind of co-create for our kids, and then I mentioned that they have about 61% of their adult thoughts by the time they're 5. Well, to the extent whatever is left, the rest of that, we parents create for them with our own thoughts. So I thought, I wonder when it kind of kicks in and when children start creating for themselves. And then I was on the playground with my daughter's mommy and me, and this little boy from a kindergarten class, and these were all 2.5-year-old kids. A kindergartner came up and told one of the little boys that he was a baby, and I saw him crumple, and I was just heartbroken for the kids. I went over to him and I said, you know what? That's not true. He doesn't even know you. Don't listen to him. You're not a baby. Just don't even listen to what he says. And so he felt better, but I could tell he still wasn't himself because I was used to seeing this kid. So when his mom came, I said, you know what? Someone said this to him, and I just want to let you know he might be a little bummed about that because I've noticed that it's kind of had an impact on him. And she said, oh, things like that always happen to him. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's 2.5 and he's already got a pattern in his life that he's creating. And that's one of the hallmarks, or one of the ways that you can recognize negativity, is that there's a pattern that occurs. And it may not be the same pattern, it may be a different pattern. It may be one where you have to look to see, oh my gosh, this is the same pattern. It may show up a little bit differently, but it's still a pattern. Another way that you can recognize negativity is if you're not getting what you want. If you're always focusing on one thing and you're getting something else, and it just feels like life is a struggle, that's another way that you can recognize negativity. So it's really two things, that you're not getting what you want, and then the third thing is life is a struggle, because really our whole being is set up for our life to be created effortlessly for us. And this is why the subconscious does what it does. There's a thing in there called the reticular activating system. So that if you put a thought in your subconscious, its job is to go out and attract more things just like that for you. So people talk about the law of attraction. This is how it technically works. The subconscious has an idea, it goes out and it just attracts more of that for you. So whatever's in there is what it's going to find more of. It's just designed to be effortless. The trouble is that when the garbage goes in, then that's what it's attracting more of. And so this is the problem that we have. And part of what's happened is because we have so much negativity in our parents and so much of it's automatic, it's been automatically passed on to our kids, combined with an increase of it in the media and in our surrounding environments, and that's created this snowball effect where over the past 2,000 years on our planet we've gotten continually more and more and more negativity that's built up until we're at the place now where we have 97.4% on average, and our teenagers actually have 97.8% on average, so they are slightly more negative than us. And I believe that that is accounting for a lot of what we're seeing with not just the drug use, because we have that problem really rampant with adults too, but where we're seeing things like the school shootings and things like that is because we're seeing the outcome of that additional little bit, 0.4% of negativity increase in our kids. It's really not a small percentage. We're talking 1 to 200,000 negative thoughts more in our children. And it's hard for me because my kids are 6 and 7, and I try to avoid having them watch TV, but when they watch, there's things that I'm like, you know what, you can't watch that. it's either giving them a wrong message, or it's, giving them ideas that I don't want them to have. And I know the other night my daughter said, "But mommy, this is rated G." I said, "I don't care.